basically what I planned to do was to share our experience of what we did in the planning and the initial development of Greater Noida. And to what extent can it serve as a model or give us lessons for the making of the sustainable cities. We are all aware that India is now on an accelerated growth trajectory. A lot of other expectations which will come with it. One is the urbanization challenge that is going to come. 30% of the people are urban at the moment. In 2030, it will become 40%. And by 2050, it will be 70%. It's a far cry from what we used to say when we were children, that India is a rural country, and I think there were 18% was supposed to be the urban population, the rest. So India is going to move into this direction. There are certain implications of this. The urban population of India would be twice the present population of USA by 2030. We'll have 68 cities of 1 million plus. They will be the engines of economic growth. 70% of GDP is supposed to come there. The growth and the global competitiveness is going to be started from the cities. Most of the employment would be generated there. And we would be doubling the growth rate of the urban population. Now this has another side also. Not everybody in the urban areas are rich person. 75% of the people of urban India belong to the relatively less well-off categories. There are huge infrastructure requirements. It's been estimated, I think, $1.2 trillion of investment is required to provide the infrastructure required for this kind of urban growth. There will be a pressure on resources, land, water, power, money, everything there's going to be there. If we go on as before, the essential services would be far below what is considered to be an acceptable standard of living, nothing to compare with the best in class, but from the average. So this is, and there'll be, of course, implications of the governance models. The present governance models have so far not been delivering very successfully, and there's huge environmental implications, particularly with this climate change that is coming around. What do we do about it? There's no point wishing away this urban growth, because the urban growth is going to happen. It is happening all over the world. It's going to happen in this country also. So I will touch upon 4 aspects of sustainability. One is the physical, social, financial, and ecological, which we need to take into account. Physical would mean what is the quality of infrastructure, what is the benchmarking of services standards, how do we maintain the facilities, what is the quality of life that we are providing to our citizens. We have an issue. We either create luxurious pockets in our cities, or we talk of the very poor. There is a huge average person whose quality of life is somehow gets misplaced, and we seem to have a feeling that Indian citizens do not deserve the best that can be offered. So that is what we need to change, I think, if we are going to actually provide the success of this, make a success of this urbanization. Social sustainability, again, we have to remember that the city is ultimately human beings. The social infrastructure. Inclusive growth is an important issue, like 75% are not so well off. You can't create a few pockets of luxury and absolute comfort and leave the rest out. The cities have to be suitable for our lifestyle. A lot of the study in planning and all is Western oriented. That is where it originated. So we need to change it. Then we cannot forget the rural population, which is being displaced by the cities, and the issue of urban villages, which I think a lot of us are familiar with. Financial sustainability, of course, means adequate funding for everything. Construction stage, it's not so difficult. Maintenance becomes a problem, because by the time you have sold off the land, there's very little money left. So what we need to do, how do we replace and upgrade the assets? There's a limit to which environment can regenerate itself. I think all of us are more acutely conscious of it than we were some years ago. And there is an impact of this climate change there. So we have to minimize the ecological footprint. And there are implications for the quality and availability for air, waste, transport, the whole jing-bang lot. This has implications for various areas which I broadly listed are these 7, which we need to manage or plan or whatever to achieve at the sustainability results. What I plan to do is, well, just take you briefly through how we went about the process in Greater Noida. It wasn't as if we were trying to did this analysis of 4, but how these issues got addressed. I just want to take you through that briefly, and then what more should have been done or what more can be done now for the relatively. It is a brief introduction. Greater Noida, it's a city in the neighborhood. I think all of you are familiar with that. It's a population of 12 lakhs. This is the master plan. The initial stages of planning any city, any worthwhile development, now a lot of it is going on in the private sector also. We have to decide what is the quality and the standard of facilities that we need to give to our citizens. And here I think what we did was we said, let us plan for abundance, which was a very distinct change of mindset from the normal thinking of the administration or planners or whatever. We, like I said earlier, we don't seem to think that our people deserve the best. So we will first plan adequately enough. Then when a shortage comes, then I'll start expanding, which is happening in Delhi all the time. So that is one area which we took a view. Housing and water for all needed to be provided. And then we wanted the city living to be a pleasant experience. So we talked about urban form, lifestyle compatible layouts, and clean and healthy environment. Then how do you develop the infrastructure and how do you plan for its O&M? So what is how will we manage them? What are the commercial principles? All these issues were issues which needed an answer. Providing for the informal sector, right from the city design. The informal sector, which goes into slums, is an essential part of Indian city life. And this provide a huge lot of useful services to the country, to the other people. They do not have the wherewithal to actually afford a proper urban life. So what do we do about them? So this is an issue which keeps coming all the time in all cities. And employment opportunities and security was an issue which was kind of more endemic to Greater Noida. The governance model, the idea was to keep simplified regulations and uniform enforcement. And again, there, how do you manage change? What do you do? And these are the other things which I've listed out, which we need to decide when you're talking of a governance model. Funds again, how do you fund it? Like I said in the beginning there is money because you're selling land. So generally, when you are developing, there is a surplus available. Gradually, over a period of time, the maintenance issues get lost. And I think we have a tendency of going on announcing new and new schemes and letting the earlier ones go to seed. So we needed to have an issue on this. Based on this analysis, we thought, how do we position Greater Noida? And cities are quite competitive these days within. So we said that let us position it as a city with a high quality of infrastructure. This is the land of plenty. We've made this our slogan actually, the supply will precede demand here. Wanted it to be a green lung for the region. Then landscaping and some innovative planning solutions that we found out. This was the broad vision, efficient city, eco-friendly, same thing. Repeated there. Here just the holistic planning to cover all urbanization issues and participation of the rural population was an essential part of our urban development thing, that the people of that area must benefit economically from what is happening there. The broad development model was you provide quality infrastructure, attract industries, make it the education hub. Created a lot of knowledge parks. We wanted the area to become the knowledge hub for the NCR at least, which it has. I believe they got about 80 or 90 institutions. And a leisure destination, create employment. And so it should not remain only as a suburb of Delhi where people will commute every day to Delhi. So you create sufficient employment opportunities within the city. Again, planning, simplified governance, and arrangement for funds. These are the three issues which needed to be addressed. We also did some kind of in-house brainstorming of what is wrong with what are the drawbacks, not wrong really, what is left out in the normal planning process. And we came to this list of things. There seemed to be a lack of clarity of it, and a lot of conflicting claims, so there's confusion when you start implementing it. There's very little emphasis on implementation. The plan is made and then everybody forgets about it. The financial planning is not related to the physical plan. Transportation generally tends to get left out, and then lack of attention to landscape and urban design. And somewhere we tend to lose sight of the individual. You think this whole city is roads, buildings, the bridges, infrastructure, and you forget what the human being there is supposed to do. We also did a further thing. Why do all our cities, what is wrong with our cities? They all look dirty. for one thing. So that is one impression. Inadequate and substandard services, poor maintenance, weak enforcement. These are things I think which we are all familiar with. So these are issues we wanted to address and while we were designing the city. And of course, like I said, we tried to keep the human person. These are the various elements of city planning, which I need not repeat for you. These are various elements. You're all familiar with this. The role of city planning is to arrange all this in a proper manner so that it becomes a nice community. One thing was the approach planning from there was enough attention given to all of them. It was not piecemeal projects being worked out. Starting from the informal sector, neighborhood, block, and you go up to the region level. Sector planning, we thought the sector layout is an essential part. It actually defines the lifestyle of the city. Once you have designed the city, you've designed the facilities, you've designed the commercial areas. So to a large extent, the lifestyle of the people there gets defined. So we paid attention to that. Tried to keep most things within walking distances. The spaces were defined, clusters were there, flowing greens. Housing for different income groups in the same sector. By and large, each sector had a mix of housing, of smaller plots to bigger plots. 45% of the area we kept under roads and open spaces. And the social infrastructure norms were fixed from the beginning, and right from the beginning they were provided, whether it's schools, shops, whatever, medical facilities. Informal sector we planned as an integral part of the city. 5% of the total land was reserved for the informal sector, the cost of which was subsidized by the other people. So the land was supposed to come free for the informal sector, and we had a plan to develop the basic essential services, so we provide them some level of living, and then it was supposed to take care according to their economic need. They can grow this area. They can develop as they grow along. Kiosks were provided at strategic locations. Hawkers are an essential part of our life. We generally forget the hawkers, so they come up wherever they wish. So we have earmarked places for hawkers. Weekly markets in the villages are there as part of the life. We earmarked space for that, and we said, okay, the weekly markets can be held here. The villages were integrated into